I never thought a simple withdrawal could shatter my world. But there I was, standing at the teller window in that stuffy Midtown branch, my ID trembling in my hand like a guilty confession. "This doesn't look like you," George said, his voice flat as Kansas asphalt, eyes narrowing behind those wire-rimmed glasses that made him look like every straight-laced banker from a bad 80s movie. And just like that, with one skeptical glance, he turned my secret life into a public execution. Because if he didn't believe who I was on paper, how could I ever believe I'd make it out of this alive? The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead like angry hornets, and I could feel the line behind me shifting, impatient whispers turning into stares that burned holes in my back. My name, Timothy Hale, stared up from the driver's license. But George's frown said it all: fraud. Fake. Or maybe just another queer kid playing pretend in a world that already hated the real me. I bolted from the bank that afternoon. The rejection letter from the teller. Yeah, they actually printed one for suspicious activity, crumpled in my fist like a bad breakup note. Midtown Manhattan swallowed me whole. Skyscrapers clawing at the December sky, their shadows turning the sidewalks into a maze of hurried suits and steaming coffee cups from overpriced carts. It was 2025, for Christ's sake. And here I was, 28 years old, feeling like I'd been caught shoplifting my own identity. George. That name echoed in my head like a bad pop song you can't shake. We'd met 6 months earlier at a dive bar in Hell's Kitchen. The kind where the drag queens outnumber the straights and the whiskey tastes like regret. He was nursing a Bud Light, tie loosened just enough to hint at rebellion. And I was there drowning the latest fallout from my family's endless parade of concerned interventions. "You're Timothy, right? The graphic designer with the killer portfolio," he'd said, sliding onto the stool next to me, his smile cracking through the dim neon glow like sunlight on cracked pavement. Turns out, we had a mutual friend from Pratt, art school ghosts haunting the same city blocks. That night, we talked for hours about everything and nothing. The Met's eternal chokeholds, the way Basquiat's scribbles made sense of chaos, how New York's pulse could make you feel invincible one block and invisible the next. By closing time, his hand brushed mine under the bar, accidental at first, then deliberate, a spark that lit up the damp December air outside. We kissed against the graffiti wall of some forgotten alley, his lips tasting like hops and hesitation, mine desperate for proof that someone saw me, really saw me, without the filters. But that was before the bank, before the doubt. Now, as I stormed into my cramped Astoria apartment, rent-stabilized miracle in a sea of evictions, I slammed the door hard enough to rattle the neighbor's thin walls. Mrs. Kowalski probably thought I was auditioning for a Scorsese flick again. I tossed the rejection slip onto the kitchen table, where it landed next to a stack of unpaid bills and a half-eaten bagel from yesterday. My laptop hummed to life, screen flickering with freelance gigs that barely covered the Wi-Fi. Graphic design paid the rent, sure, but it didn't pay for therapy sessions where I unpacked the suitcase of shame my evangelical folks back in Ohio had packed for me. "Pray the gay away," Dad had said last Christmas, his Bible thumping the table like a gavel. Mom just cried, her rosary beads clicking like accusations. George didn't know about that yet. Our 3 months together had been a whirlwind of stolen weekends. Brunch at that hole-in-the-wall in the village where the Eggs Benedict came with a side of queer history. Lazy Sundays, binging old episodes of Queer as folk on his futon. His head in my lap as I sketched logos for startups that would never last. He'd whisper things in the dark, vulnerabilities wrapped in that Midwestern drawl, growing up in rural Pennsylvania. The farm boy who fled to the city after his high school crush ended in a black eye from the quarterback's jealousy. "I thought New York would fix me," he'd murmur, fingers tracing the tattoos on my arm. A rainbow phoenix I'd inked after coming out at 22. Feathers curling like flames. But it's just more hiding. Hiding. That's what the bank teller incident felt like. A neon sign flashing my deepest fear. I'd opened that account 5 years ago, back when I was still experimenting with my look. Hormones not yet a whisper in my ear. No, wait, that's not right. The identity doubt wasn't about gender. It was simpler, crueler. My face had changed over the years. Longer hair then, now cropped short for a client gig, and the photo on the ID was from a rough patch. Eyes hollow from a breakup that left me questioning everything. But George, of all people, spotting the mismatch during my routine transfer, it hit like betrayal before it even was won. I texted him that night, thumbs flying over the screen in a haze of hurt. Bank just called me a fraud. You there? Need to talk. Dots danced, then stopped. An hour later, on shift till close. Rain check, no emoji, no heart. Just words, cold as the sleet starting to tap my window. The next morning, I woke to a voicemail, his voice, gravelly from lack of sleep. Tim, hey, sorry about last night. Boss of me closing audits. What's this bank bullshit? Call me. Relief flooded me, warm as diner coffee, but undercut with that nagging worm of doubt. I dialed, pacing the threadbare rug that smelled faintly of takeout Thai. Tim, he picked up on the second ring. Background chatter of keyboards and muffled phones. You okay? Sounded rough. I spilled it all, the teller's scrutiny. The way George's eyes had flicked from the photo to my face like I was a suspect sketch. It was you, George. At the window. You didn't recognize me. Silence stretched, thick as fog over the Hudson. Then, a sigh. Shit. Tim. The system flagged it. Protocol. Your photo's old. Yeah, but I had to verify. It's not personal. Not personal. My voice cracked, echoing off the peeling wallpaper. Feels pretty damn personal when the guy I'm falling for treats me like a criminal. Falling for, he echoed it soft, like testing a forbidden word. The line hummed with unspoken things. Our nights tangled in sheets. His breath hot against my neck. The way he'd freeze if a coworker called during dinner. Closeted at work. He'd admitted once. The bank's corporate Bible thumping harder than Dad's. We hung up awkward. Promises of drinks later dangling like carrots. But as I stared at my reflection in the bathroom mirror, stubble shadowing my jaw, eyes shadowed by last night's tears, I wondered if this was the crack that would spiderweb us apart. New Year chewed up loves like mine for breakfast. Only the tough survived. And me, I was starting to feel like yesterday's crumbs. That weekend, we met at our spot, a quiet bench in Bryant Park. Christmas lights twinkling premature against the bare oaks. Skaters gliding on the rink like they hadn't a care. George arrived bundled in a wool coat that smelled of his cologne, sandalwood and safety, carrying 2 steaming cups from a cart. Hot cider. Spiked. If you're game. I took mine, our gloved fingers brushing. And for a moment, it was easy again. We talked shop, his endless spreadsheets. My latest pitch for a queer-owned coffee brand's rebrand. Laughter bubbled up, real and raw, until I steered us back. About the bank, he set his cup down, elbows on knees, staring at the ice. I fucked up. Saw the flag. Panicked. Thought maybe. Identity theft's rampant. Tim, last month, we lost 10 grand to some asshole in Jersey. His eyes met mine, blue as Lake Erie in summer. But it wasn't you I doubted. It was the job. The rules. Rules. The word hung heavy, laced with the ones we'd both broken, mine with family, his with the straight facade at work. I leaned in, our shoulders touching, the park's chill forgotten. Then break one for me. Tonight. Come over. Stay. He hesitated, glanced darting to a family nearby. Mom corralling kids with mittened hands. Tim, I want to. God, I do. But, no buts. I kissed him then, quick and fierce, tasting cinnamon and fear. A jogger wolf whistled. George pulled back, cheeks flushing crimson. Not here. We ended up at my place. The door barely shut before clothes hit the floor. Not frantic, but tender, like unwrapping a gift you'd waited years for. His hands mapped my skin, reverent, whispering apologies into my collarbone. You're real to me, he said, voice muffled against my chest. Always have been. Lying there after, sweat cooling on tangled limbs. I traced the scar on his rib, souvenir from that farm brawl. Promise me, I murmured. No more doubts. Promise. His arm tightened around me, heartbeat syncing with mine. For the first time in weeks, sleep came easy, dreams painted in the soft hues of possibility. But New York doesn't do possibilities without a price. Monday morning, my phone buzzed with an email from the bank. Account frozen pending investigation. Attached was a photo, grainy security cam still of me at the window. Time-stamped. George's back to the lens as he typed. Below it, a note, suspected accomplice under review. My stomach dropped like the express elevator in Empire State. Accomplice? To what? I forwarded it to George. Fingers numb. What the hell is this? His reply took hours. Meeting with HR. Stay calm. Love you. Love you. First time he'd said it. But as sirens wailed outside my window, the city's endless dirge, I couldn't shake the chill. Was this doubt? Or something darker? The investigation dragged into weeks. A Kafkaesque nightmare of forms and follow-ups. I switched banks. But the damage lingered, freelance checks bouncing, clients ghosting when payments delayed. George buried himself in overtime, coming home to my apartment reeking of stress and stale coffee, collapsing into bed without a word. Our touches turned perfunctory, kisses like obligations. It's just procedure, he'd mutter, but his eyes avoided mine, flicking to his phone like it held escape routes. One night, after a particularly brutal day, me pitching to a homophobic exec who loved the work but not the rainbow vibes, I confronted him over cold pizza in the living room. This isn't procedure, George. It's sabotage. Someone's gunning for us. He laughed, sharp and brittle. Paranoid much? It's a glitch. Banks eat their young. But I saw it then, the flicker in his gaze. The way his jaw tightened like he'd swallow glass. Unless it's you, I said, the words slipping out before I could cage them. Protecting your ass. Throwing me under to save your job. The room went still. Pizza forgotten. Tim, that's insane. Is it? I stood, voice rising with the bile in my throat. You flagged me. You. And now this. He rose too, face paling under the harsh bulb. I followed protocol. If I'd cleared you without verifying, we'd both be fired. Collusion. Tim. Ring a bell. Collusion. The word twisted like a knife, echoing the email's accusation. We argued until neighbors banged on the wall. Voices raw, accusations flying like shrapnel. You're ashamed, I hurled. Of me. Of us. Better ashamed than unemployed, he shot back, the door slamming behind him as he stormed out into the night. Alone again, I sank to the floor, sobs racking my frame. Ohio called that week. Mom's voice tentative on the line. Come home. Timmy. We miss you. Home. Where love came with conditions. Where George wouldn't exist. I hung up, staring at the rejection slip I'd kept like a talisman. Doubt wasn't just his, it was mine, burrowing deep. Christmas Eve found me wandering the Union Square market. Fairy lights strung like hopeful lies between vendor stalls heavy with pine and spice. The air bit sharp, carrying laughter and carols that mock my solitude. George and I hadn't spoken in days, not since the blowout. His texts went unanswered, mine, unread. I'd thrown myself into work, churning out designs for holiday cards that screamed joy I didn't feel, reindeer with rainbow antlers, sleighs pulled by fierce drag queens. Clients loved them. I hated the hypocrisy. A text buzzed as I haggled over a handmade scarf. Merry Christmas. Can we talk? Your place. 8. Heart hammering. I typed back. Doors unlocked. Then panic set in. Apartment a war zone of takeout boxes and crumpled sketches. I raced home, scrubbing counters like penance, lighting candles to mask the loneliness. He arrived at 7:58. Snow-dusted coat slung over a bottle of red and a tin of those Danish cookies he swore were better than sex. Awkward hug at the door, his stubble rough against my cheek. Missed you, he mumbled, handing over the gifts like peace offerings. We ate on the couch, Chinese from the spot on Ditmars. Fortune cookies cracking open prophecies we ignored. Wine loosened tongues. Apologies tumbling out. I was scared, he admitted, glass cradled in both hands. Job's all I got tying me here. Without it, what am I? Back to the farm, tail between legs. And me, I pressed, vulnerability sharpening my tone. Am I the risk you can't afford? His hand found mine, thumb stroking knuckles. You're the reason I stay. Eyes locked. The room shrank to just us. Fire escaped shadows dancing on walls. The distant honk of cabs a muffled symphony. He kissed me slow, deliberate, tasting of Merlot and redemption. We made love on the rug by the tree I'd half-decorated, branches sagging under dollar store ornaments. His whispers weaving through my gasps. I love you, Tim. No doubts. After, wrapped in a quilt that smelled of mothballs and memories. We talked real, the future, not just fantasies. Let's move in, he said, tracing patterns on my arm. Proper. Your lease ends in June. Hope bloomed, fragile as the poinsettia wilting on the sill. But dawn brought reality, his phone alarm blaring at 5 a.m., a quick peck before he vanished into the gray. Work. Always work. The new year slunk in like a hangover. Resolutions brittle as Rice Krispies. My account thawed. Turns out, a glitch in the system. No charges filed, but the scar lingered. George's promotion came through. Assistant manager. More hours. More stress. He threw himself into it. Suits starched crisp. Smiles polished for board meetings. Our dates dwindled to microwave dinners and Netflix queues. Intimacy reduced to hurried handjobs in the shower before he dashed out. I started noticing things. Late nights, auditing, cologne stronger than usual. His phone face down, charging across the room. Paranoia? Maybe. But when I found a locked drawer in his desk, his apartment, not mine, during a surprise lunch visit, I couldn't ignore it. Prying it with a paperclip. Thank you. YouTube. I unearthed files, bank memos on fraud, highlighted sections on internal threats, and buried at the bottom a printout of my security photo, circled in red with notes, verify alibi. Cross-reference deposits. Betrayal hit like a subway gust, hot, foul, unrelenting. He wasn't protecting us. He was investigating me. For what? A few bounce checks? Or something deeper? A doubt he'd never voiced? That night, confrontation brewed over spaghetti I'd slaved over. Candles flickering like accusations. What's this? I slapped the papers down, voice steady despite the quake inside. His fork clattered, face draining of color. Tim, It's not. Save it. I cut him off, hurt hardening into fury. You're spying on me? Us? For your precious bank. Standard procedure, he exploded, standing so fast the chair tipped. After the flag, they assigned me lead. I couldn't say no without outing. Outing what? That you love a guy who might be a thief. The word poisoned the air. Ugly and American dream sour. He recoiled as if slapped. I was covering for you, fudging reports so they wouldn't dig deeper. If they found your freelance cash flow under the table. Tim, it looks bad. Under the table. My gigs, the ones that kept us afloat when his salary lagged. So, I'm the dirty secret now, professionally and personally. We tore into each other, skeletons rattling out, his fear of coming out at work, my resentment toward his closet, the way Ohio's ghosts haunted us both. You're ashamed, I accused again, tears hot on my cheeks. Admit it, I'm terrified, he roared, voice breaking. Of losing you, of losing everything. This city, it chews you up if you're not straight. White, perfect, perfect. The lie we both chased. He grabbed his coat, storming into the sleet-lashed night, door echoing like a gunshot. Days blurred into a fog of avoidance, me crashing at a friend's in Bushwick, him buried in ledgers. Then the call came, HR's clipped tone, Mr. Hale, regarding your account. We've uncovered irregularities. Care to explain deposits from unverified sources? Freelance. I'd stammer. But they pressed, shell companies. Offshore vibes. Panic clawed my throat. Not fraud, clients routing payments through dodgy apps to dodge taxes. Innocent. But optics? Disaster. I confronted George at his branch, bursting through glass doors like a vigilante in a noir flick. Patrons gawked as I demanded his office, voice carrying over the lobby hum. He ushered me back, door clicking shut on prying eyes. Tell them it's nothing, I begged, pacing the cramped space, plaques on walls mocking his ascent. You're the lead. Fix it. I can't. His whisper was wreckage. If I bury this, it's my job, my career, our life, I countered, grabbing his lapels. Choose. George. Us or them. He pulled away, eyes glistening. I need time. Time. The thief of lovers. I left him there, the bank's marble floors cold under my boots, stepping into a city that suddenly felt like enemy territory. Spring thawed the streets, but not us. I moved out officially, subletting a studio in Williamsburg that reeked of fresh paint and false starts. Designs poured out, angry abstracts sold to galleries hungry for queer rage, but sleep evaded. Night spent scrolling his socials, promotion party pics, him smiling with faceless suits. No trace of me. Then the subpoena arrived, federal probe into the bank's fraud ring. My name tangled in it, a minnow in shark waters. Reporters sniffed around, a post blurb twisting graphic artist into suspected money launderer. Ohio called again, Dad's voice thunder. Told you the city would corrupt you. Corrupt. The word festered. I met with a lawyer, pro bono from a queer legal aid. Her office a rainbow flag fortress. Plausible deniability, she said, scanning docs. But your boyfriend's the weak link. Internal audits, he signed off. George. My betrayer. My anchor. I texted him one last time. Feds. Your move. His reply, coffee. Tomorrow. Central Park. 10 a.m. I arrived early. Bench by the Bethesda fountain. Angels weeping stone tears that mirrored my own. He showed 10 minutes late. Ty Askew. Carrying 2 blacks. No sugar. Just how I liked. Tim. One word. And the dam cracked. We walked the loops. Leaves unfurling green against blue skies. words tumbling. His confession, I'd been right. The investigation was personal. A boss sniffing his lifestyle to leverage a promotion denial. They used you to break me, he said, voice raw. I fought it, but I folded, like a bad hand in poker. American as apple pie and regret. Why not tell me? Fear, simple, shattering, of dragging you down. We stopped by the boat pond. Model sails bobbing like fragile hopes. I love you, he said, hands slipping into mine, public, defiant. A jogger glanced. We didn't care. Let me fix this. Testify. Blow the whistle. The offer hung, heavy with risk. Whistleblowers in this town, heroes or headlines, usually the latter. But his eyes, clear now, no shadows, begged trust. Okay, I whispered, our kiss sealing it, soft as spring rain. For a moment, the park blurred, angels silent, city hushed. Love, real and ragged, cutting through the noise. The fallout hit like a nor'easter, winds howling through boardrooms and back alleys alike. George filed the complaint anonymously at first, through channels I'd researched, queer activists looping in to shield him. But leaks spring eternal. By week's end, his name splashed across Wall Street Journal front pages. Bank insider exposes multi-million fraud. The branch shuttered overnight. Yellow tape fluttering like caution flags on a stalled freeway. Reporters camped my stoop. Mics thrust like accusations. Mister. Hail. Comment on your role. I stonewalled. Lawyer's script on loop. But inside, terror gnawed. Clients bailed. Too hot. Emails read. Attachments of canceled contracts. Ohio's silence screamed loudest. Even Mom's weekly check-ins dried up, replaced by a single postcard, praying for clarity. Love, despite. George crashed at my studio, the space shrinking under dual occupancy, his suits draped over my drafting table, our coffees mingling on the sill. Nights were tender sieges, him reading depositions aloud, me sketching escape plans in margins. Tahoe, I'd say. Pencil flying. Cabin by the lake. No banks. No probes. He'd laugh, pulling me close. Deal. But first, we fight. Fight we did. Testifying before the Senate subcommittee in D.C., flyover country to power brokers, felt like stepping into a lion's den dressed as lunch. Suits eyed us like specimens, me in thrift store blazer. George crisp despite the circles under his eyes. Mr. Ellis, the chairwoman intoned, her voice steel-wrapped in southern honey. You allege internal cover-ups. Motive. George straightened, hand finding mine under the table, a secret anchor. Love. Senator. They targeted my partner to silence me. Queer folks like us were easy marks in these games. Gasps rippled. Cameras flashed. I squeezed back, pulse thundering. His words, our truth, laid bare. No filters. The room shifted, murmurs turning to nods. By recess, offers poured in, book deals, TED Talks, even a Netflix docuseries pitch from a producer who'd loved there when we rise vibe. Back in New York, vindication tasted bittersweet. The bank crumbled, CEOs indicted. Branches folding like bad bets in Atlantic City. George's whistleblower status netted a settlement, 7 figures. Split with victims. Mine? Cleared, with apologies and fine print. But money couldn't mend the fractures. Doubts resurfaced, insidious as summer humidity. You think they'll hire me now? He'd ask over breakfast. Scrolling job boards stained with rejection. Ex-bankers carried scarlet letters. His was rainbow-hued. They'd be idiots not to, I'd lie. Forcing cheer. Truth? Doors slammed. Ethics clauses. HR drone-sighted. Code for too gay. Too messy. I landed gigs. Sure, nonprofits hungry for authentic voices, but stability eluded. Our nest egg draining on lawyers and lattes. Then the bomb, his ex, Marcus, surfaced like a ghost from a bad sequel. Farm boy days. Pre-New York. A high school flame reignited via LinkedIn. Just coffee, George swore when the text lit his screen during dinner. Closure. Closure. I nodded, throat tight, but jealousy festered, irrational, American guilt flavored. Marcus, broad-shouldered vet now, Pennsylvania roots unscarred by city grit. They met at a midtown cafe, neutral ground, but George's return reeked of cologne, not his. Stories spilling unbidden. He gets it. Tim. The hiding. Without the drama. Drama. Me. Reduced to plot twist. So go back, I snapped that night, packing his bag with shaking hands. Play house in the sticks. Be straight adjacent again. Tim. Stop. He blocked the door, eyes pleading. It's you. Always. But seed sown take root. Weeks later, I found an email chain, innocent at first. Marcus offering a job at his family's agribusiness consultancy. Rural life. Fresh start. George's replies. Tempting. NYC's toxic. No CC to me. Betrayal redux. Sharper for the healing weed clawed. Confrontation in the kitchen. Dawn light slanting accusatory. You're leaving. Not without you. But his voice wavered. Map already mentally folded. You are. Certainty settled. Cold as foreclosure notices. And that's okay. Better this than resentment. He cried then, farm boy tears. Unpracticed and ugly, begging, bargaining. We beat the bank. We can beat this. This isn't a villain. George. It's us. Tired. Scared us. I held him, rocking like a child. Our sobs symphony to the waking city. By noon, he was gone, suitcase thumping stairs, cab horn sealing the goodbye. Alone, the studio echoed vast. I called Mom that afternoon, voice small, I'm coming home. For a bit. Oh, Timmy, no sermons, just relief. We'll make it right, right? Ohio waited, flatlands stretching like forgiveness or forgetfulness. But New York clung, final freelance deadline. A mural for the Stonewall anniversary, fists raised in defiance. Lovers entwined in shadow. I painted through tears, colors bleeding vivid. George's last text came at midnight, boarding train. Love you forever. Be brave. Brave. The word mocked as I boarded my own flight. Clouds below like erased chalkboards. Cleveland touchdown soft. Mom's hug at baggage claim fierce. Dad's nod grudging, but there. Homecoming. Awkward dinners. Bible studies skipped for walks by the Cuyahoga. Rust-colored waters whispering second chances. Letters arrived. George's. Handwritten. Postmarked Philly first. Then deeper Pennsylvania. Miss you. Marcus is a friend. Nothing more. Come back. I burn them in the backyard fire pit. Ashes swirling like unsent replies. Summer peaked in heat waves. Mirages on highways promising escape. A job offer pinged. Queer Arts Center in Columbus. Bridging city and heartland. I took it. Packing light. Phoenix tattoo itching like rebirth. Then, the call. October gale rattling windows. George's voice crackling through. Tim. It's bad, bad. The word hollowed me. Tell me, Marcus. He proposed. Reflex. But I said no. Realized it's you. Always was. Pause. Wind in the line. I'm coming to Ohio. If you'll have me. Heart stuttered. Old wounds pulsing. Why now? Because I doubted us. Like the bank doubted you. And I hate myself for it. Raw. Real. American confessional. I hung up, staring at the harvest moon through frost-kissed glass. Brave or foolish? The mural's ghosts urged. Fight. Love. Defy. Train to Columbus, I texted back. I'll meet you halfway. Halfway. Like compromise. Like us. The halfway point was a nothing town off I-71, Wadsworth, Ohio. All cornfields and clapboard churches. The kind of place that births superheroes or serial killers, depending on the comic. Greyhound station squatted by a diner. Neon, eat, sign flickering like a heartbeat. I arrived first. Coffee cooling in styrofoam. Nerve jangling worse than a Mets playoff loss. He stepped off the bus at dusk. Duffel slung over shoulder. Face gaunt but grinning. That crooked smile that first hooked me in Hell's Kitchen haze. Tim, one step. Then arms crushed us together. Airport reunions be damned. He smelled of bus vinyl and vanilla shampoo. Home in human form. Missed this, he murmured into my hair. World narrowing to his warmth. We drove my old Civic, Ohio plates. City scars to a roadside motel. Clerk eyeing us curious but kind. Room 7, sagging bed. TV static. But ours. No words needed. Clothes shed like old skins. Bodies reconnecting in frantic grace. Kisses mapping apologies. Hands claiming forgiveness. After, tangled in scratchy sheets. We talked till stars wheeled overhead. I quit the consultancy, he said, fingers lacing mine. Too much pretending. Applied for a credit union gig in Akron. Small. Queer-friendly board. Akron. Rubber City revival. Close enough for weekends. Far for fresh air. And Marcus. Ghosted. Realized he was nostalgia, not future. His laugh rumbled soft. You're my city, Tim. Chaos and all. Relief washed. But scars itched. No more doubts. Swear. Solemn as vows. We're in this. No banks. No betrayals. We move slow, him in Akron. Me commuting to Columbus. Weekends blurring boundaries. My Arts Center gig bloomed. Workshops for queer youth. Murals exploding color on brick walls scarred by hate. Kids like me at their age, eyes wide. Hearts armored, drew rainbows over ruins. Stories spilling in charcoal and confession. George's credit union job stuck, teller again. But with a corner office view of the Cuyahoga Valley. Lending to startups that smelled of hope. Not just profit. Evenings. He'd pick me up in his used Prius. Dinner at Dives where pierogies came with pride flags on toothpicks. But America doesn't do easy. Conflicts brewed subtle, like storm clouds over the Alleghenies. His family visited, farm kin, conservative as corn. I-me polite, but puzzled over pot roast. Nice to meet Timothy, Aunt Ruth said, grip limp as her smile. George squeezed my knee under the table. Anchor in the awkward. Mine reciprocated, Dad thawing over Brown's games. Mom baking rainbow cookies, sprinkles. Not symbolism, but effort. He's good for you, she whispered post-dinner. Washing dishes side by side. Steady, steady. The word we'd chased. Yet misunderstandings lingered, his late shift sparking my old paranoia. My freelance travel igniting his abandonment fears. One fight, over a canceled anniversary due to my exhibit in Chicago. You choose work over us. Like you didn't. I fire back. Hotel room, echoing cold. We hung up raging, but called back at dawn, voices hoarse. Hearts mending. Sorry, chorus. Love you more. Depth came in therapy, joint sessions in a Cleveland office. Rainbow flag discreet on the door. Doubt's a habit, the counselor said. Glasses perch sage. Break it with truth. We did. Letters read aloud. Vulnerabilities voiced. Secrets aired like laundry on the line. Climax crashed that spring. Bank fraud echoes resurfacing in a class action suit. Our names subpoenaed again. Reporters swarmed Akron. Headlines twisting whistleblower lovers into tabloid fodder. Gay bank bust. Romance or ruse. Protests erupted outside the credit union. Picket signs slinging slurs. Sodomites steal souls. George cracked first. Board meeting ambush. Resignation demanded. Ethics, they cited. Eyes sliding past his results. I found him at home. Head in hands. Bottle half empty. It's over. We're poison. No. I pulled him up. Fierce as the phoenix on my arm. We're fire. Burn them down. We fought back. Press conference in the Arts Center lot. Mike's hot under Ohio's sun. George spoke first. Voice steady. We expose corruption because it's right. Love us or hate us, but don't let fear win. I followed. Stories of youth inspired. Murals as monuments. Cameras clicked. Allies amplified. ACLU briefs. Glad spotlights. The board folded. Public pressure of vice. George stayed. Promotion to ethics officer. Irony thick as corn syrup. Suits settled in our favor. Funds fueling a foundation. Queer financial literacy. Teaching kids like us to bank without breaking. Summer solstice. We drove to Niagara, cheesy as honeymooners, but ours. Fall's thundering mist. Rainbows arcing defiant. On a cliffside path. Slick with spray. He dropped to one knee, rings simple. Silver band etched with intertwined initials. Marry me, Tim. No doubts. No halfway. All in. Tears mixed with spray. Yes, bursting free. We kissed under the roar. World washing clean. Wedding was small, Columbus backyard. Rainbow arch over folding chairs. Mom teary. Dad clapping George on back. Welcome. Son. Vows raw. In doubts and dreams. I choose you. Honeymoon in the Keys. Florida's queer enclave. Beaches soft as promises. Evenings. Hammock swaying. Stars pricking velvet sky. Think we'll make it? He asked one night. Head on my chest. Every day, I murmured, fingers in his hair. Because we choose. Years folded forward. Foundation thriving. Mural statewide. A kiddo adopted, brown-eyed boy from foster care. Calling us dads with gap-toothed grin. Doubts? Whispers. Tamed by talk. Betrayals? Lessons. Not legacies. On our 10th. Back to New York, Bryant Park bench. Now us graying at temples. Hands weathered but clasped. Skater's world. Lights twinkling eternal. Remember the bank? He said, chuckling. How could I forget? I leaned in. Kiss soft. Best mistake ever. Mistake. No, miracle. American as underdogs winning. Love outlasting ledgers. In the city's hum, we sat. Fates intertwined. No fates held but our own.